Hello, this is my lecture on gender as a social construct. There you have it. Oh, and spiders. So gender is constructed by culture and society. Kind of a hard concept, maybe, to wrap your head around, right? So let's start with spiders. So there's 3,000 species of spiders in North America. Of all of these thousands of species in North America, only one species, the Latrodectus, is considered really, really scary and dangerous. An average of 4 people die from venomous spider bites a year. So we've got 3,000 species. We only have one species that's kind of bad. And 4 people die from spider bites in the United States every year. So this was the stats in 2019 about how many millions of people we have. So just 4 people. 4. I'm not saying that anyone should die and anyone should die of a spider bite. Don't get me wrong. But looking at the stats, 4 people out of all those people. My question is, why is everybody so afraid of spiders in the United States? Or a lot of people are afraid of spiders in the United States. I mean, dang, we got nursery rhymes. Why don't we love spiders? So, arachnophobia is the fear of spiders. But look at this. Spiders, not everyone around the world is afraid of spiders, right? I mean, some people love spiders. Some people eat spiders and consider them a delicacy. Some people think spiders are a really good sign of good fortune. And interesting, the fear of spiders, arachnophobia, runs in families often. So arachnophobia, constructed by culture and society, right? And we start constructing gender right from the get-go, before you're even born. It's been determined basically that the attributes that we give to females versus males is more of a socialization process, not biological, not necessarily genetic. So where sex or sex roles are biologically determined, right? Like what you're born with. Gender roles, whether you're considered feminine or masculine, are more often culturally determined. It's like what you're raised up to be, right? So if we look at it, sex is biologically determined. Gender is culturally determined. I'm not saying, okay, of course, obvious things. Men have better and bigger upper body strength and can do certain things that women can't do. Same with like birthing babies, right? I mean, well, and that's a little gray these days too. But anyway, there's specific ideas of how you purport yourself as female in our society versus as male in our society. And we really seem to be pretty hung up on it, right? We have the gender reveal parties now. It's another fabulous marketing scheme, but it's very popular. So right from the get-go, we decide how to react or treat or act around what is a girl or what is a boy. So the deal with all that is that if we're socialized to be a certain way, a certain gender, then where do we get all the messages? And specifically in our society, in most societies now, especially because we're so global, a lot of those messages come from family, peer groups, schools, and media. I mean, like all of them do, right? This is just something that's supposed to be funny, right? It's somebody's Christmas card. And I just think it really illustrates some very specific messages that we give to our genders. So obviously, it's a family, and peace on earth is obtained how? When you duct tape over the females' mouths and when you bind them all up in Christmas lights. Ha ha ha, right? But some big messages. Who has the second most power in this family? It's the youngest kid who happens to be a boy back there, right? And how do you obtain peace? You only gag the females. So again, these kinds of messages are replicated all over the place. And I'm not saying it isn't somewhat amusing, but it really defines how we absorb all of these messages as females and we become diminished, right? So one of your articles talks about how even when babies are born, well, really before babies are born, when we know that they're female, you just slap a little bow on this puppy and you're going to treat her differently. I mean, I know you have examples of that. Like, what are you having, a boy, girl? I'm having a girl, and and you haven't even seen anything yet. Here's an example. This is Jax, one of my preschoolers when I had my practice in Sacramento. Just really kind of a kick butt little girl. But look what she's dressed in. So this is totally hobbling her. She comes to my little preschool and she has on light up sandals, which are spectacular, right? But when she was running in them, she's tripping all over the place. They're just not good running shoes or climbing shoes. And the little outfit she has on, that little strap, she was just constantly pulling up and just being encumbered by it. So that's a huge message that we give to girls as young as Jax, who was like just not even hitting 3. Is that we're going to encumber you in order for you to purport yourself appropriately as female in our society. So family is just an awesome way to do it, right? Awesome messages, not really bad messages. And then peer groups. So people's peer groups do it too. Kids' peer groups really get you going on how you're supposed to act. That's not a girl toy. That's not what happens. That's a huge thing. And the scary part of that, as soon as kids have peers, your little play groups and stuff, or preschools, then your kid really wants to emulate their peers, right? And that's a very great way to message the value of gender, right? That especially girls. So this is an example from my preschool up here on Bainbridge Island. What's wrong with this picture? Some of you might be able to get it, right? So the linchpin, the kingpin to this group is Hayden, who's in the lower left. All the other boys want to emulate him. And so he's got them convinced that there are 2 wrong colors to use, right? Obviously the purple, the pink, because they're girl colors. So they're not going to use them. The other kids aren't going to use them. That's so crazy. And the creepy part about this, and I'm using the word creepy, I think it works, is that famous anthropologist Margaret Mead talked about how a lot of societies and also cultures and families and media educate their male children on what not to be, on the simple device of teaching them not to be female. Don't like purple and pink because those are girls' colors. Girls are less than boys, so you're not going to use purple and pink. So this is just a journal that is directed towards preschool population. I mean, well, teachers and stuff. And now you're getting a better idea. What do you think I think is wrong with this? Got it? Yeah. So the girl is watching the boy do stuff. Now, am I saying that this should never be on a journal article or magazine or in media? No, I'm not. But when it's so outnumbered, if you just look and don't get cursed like I am and look at everything, you realize how often this type of message is reproduced in our culture, in our society, where the girl is passive and watching the boy doing and is perfectly fine with it with a smile on her face, right? And it's reproduced in media all the time too. So this was just it wasn't an REI thumb. I mean, I just thumbed through it and found it. So it's like, hello, okay. So the guy is looking out, and he's seen like a bald eagle or something. He's seen something like, or a big bear, or I don't know, anything, something really cool. And the woman is like looking at the guy looking out. She's not even looking, like, hey, wait a minute, what do you see out there? And again, I'm not saying that these shouldn't be in our culture, in our media, but it's often the only thing you see, or you see so much of it that you just take it for granted. You just would pass by this catalog and say, yeah, no big deal. Hey, yeah, they got good jackets on. Looks like they're going to stay dry, right? So teaching our boys to undervalue girl stuff is a bum deal for girls, but it's really a bum deal for boys too. So another example in my preschool, we do have a dance party every morning, and it's not mandatory; it's optional, and it takes a long time before the boys will typically dance. So here's girls dancing and having some fun, and you'll notice that the boys they don't have to hang around and be part of the dance party. I mean, the music's loud, so it does dominate a little bit, but look where they all are. They are all in the back. We're on the what we call the block box, just sitting there. I didn't tell them they had to sit down. They could go do whatever they want to do while the girls were dancing. So the deal is that boys don't escape this kind of gender bias. Don't escape the messages as to how they're supposed to be as males. They're not. I mean, these kids are 3 and 4 years old. Seriously, look at them. I mean, I'm not saying everyone should dance, but wow, just to slice yourself out of that option because of peer pressure and because of expectations already as to what you should be as a boy in our society. Crazy. School's another fabulous way to learn how to be female or male. Just so many messages. A lot of it is teachers' unconscious behavior. You'll see that when you look at Failing at Fairness, that quick little video, is that they treat girls differently than they treat boys. That the whole system does. And again, the whole idea that the socialization in schools turns kids who are physically kind of the same into really different genders overall. And of course, some of the differences is the girls, again, how they're encumbered in their clothing. I could give you a million examples, even in my preschool practice. If a girl has a little skirt on, you have to twist it and get it all in place, those bows, or the hair falling in the face when you're trying to do stuff. So the deal is that boys are much more unencumbered, and it's reinforced in school all over the place, as well as in families. So this is in the Failing at Fairness video. You'll see that boys demand and receive more attention, more feedback, more concise instructions, more complicated questions from their teachers. It still happens. It happened way back in that video, and it's still happening now in classrooms. And girls, they don't demand as much. They've been brought up to take up less space, right? And not ask the complicated things. Media, that's an easy place to see how we construct gender, how we make girls girls and boys boys, right? All over the place. So the idea of what you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to purport yourself, what's more important, what brings in the likes, the hits, the views, whatever, is that males dominate media still. And they do in everything, in books, in video games, in print magazines, you name it. I mean, typically it's a 2-to-1 ratio, and it's still that. It's still that. It's getting better, but it's still that. And toys, don't even get me started on toys, right? Supposedly now we're looking at great toys for girls too, but there's still a given that boys are the ones that are being marketed to in regards to open-ended, complex play, right? I mean, oh gosh, there's so many things. I'll just keep going. I mean, it's just so apparent that boys get more choices as to what they're doing and how they're doing it. There's a lot more trial and error. There's a lot more adventure. There's reach for the sky kind of stuff, versus girls still are being marketed to that private sphere, the domesticity, right? And I'm not saying it's not fun to play house. It's fun to play house and store and all of that stuff. But when we're looking at this and we're marketing specifically girls and we're saying that this is where your value is and this kind of stuff instead of like rocket ship to the moon, then we are providing amazing and interesting and awful messages. Again, we want girls to be nurturing. We want boys to be nurturing, but this is where we see the dominance of this going on. This quote, I like it. So this gender play is troubling for at least two reasons, a lot more reasons than that, right? That boys can use their imagination more, that they build stuff, that then they rebuild it and do something different with it. And we have girls really constricted to some pretty finite play and certainly imaginative stuff. But there's only so many things you can do with your ironing board and your dishes, right? To the moon and back. Wash those clothes. This is really evidenced in Legos, for example. It's just a fabulous toy. This fabulous, used to be really gender neutral toy. And you can look up some of the history of that. And it's kind of trying to make a comeback at like, yeah, let's get more gender neutral. But that's not the case at all. And I love this letter from a Lego player. It says, "Dear Lego Company, my name is Charlotte. I am 7 years old and I love Legos, but I don't like that there are more Lego boy people and barely any Lego girls. Today I went to a store and saw Legos in two sections. The girls pink and the boys blue. All the girls did was sit at home, go to the beach and shop. And they had no jobs, but the boys went on adventures, worked, saved people, and had jobs, even swam with sharks. I want you to make more Lego girl people and then let them go on adventures and have fun, okay? Thank you, from Charlotte." Really pointed. Don't need to say anything else about it, right? Look at these occupations. These are kind of vintage Legos, but yeah, astronaut, some kind of a police officer or something, a knight in shining armor, and a female with some jewelry on. Now, they've improved a little bit, but small sets, not doing much kind of sets, sold out sets of like female scientists, for example. We get this kind of stuff all the time, that by the age of 3, girls are already aware. I've had this quote somewhere else, already are aware of how they purport themselves as females and how much feedback, positive, wonderful feedback they get from that, right? It's a crazy precedent to value girls on their looks, right? Because it doesn't get you very far. But look what already, I mean, survey says 87% of girls think that women are judged on appearance, not ability. That's like huge, right? Looks come first. And Common Sense Media, this great research firm entity, says stuff like this. 80% of 10-year-old girls have been on a diet. 80%. And then look at half of girls aged 6 to 8 want thinner bodies. Is that crazy or what? And let me just tell you about this PowerPoint slide that took me 45 minutes to do. I had the quote. That wasn't any big deal. The big deal was trying to find typical 10-year-old girls of color to just put in this. Seriously. Found the white girl pretty easily. Latinx and Black African American, not so easily, because there's pictures of them playing soccer. The Latinx for sure, not much for the African American. So again, just want to point out the racism in our society as well as the sexism. So the deal is there's ways to reinforce girls being able to do just about anything, if not more, than boys, right? But our society, our culture really does a number on girls and helps to construct gender in our culture and society instead of being just a little more open-minded, a little more equitable about the whole thing. It's a big deal. It's a huge deal. We talk about it a lot in this class, and it's hard to undo. Slowly but surely, some of it's being undone. Not enough. And by the way, those don't look like girls to me. They don't look like spider girls to me. They look like spider women. Thank you.